Welcome to this preview video for Firesiege A Feralis story. This is a brand new game hitting crowdfunding, game found soon. I'm going to describe to you the rules, explain in detail how the game works, and come back to this at the end of this video for some final wrap-up. But before we start, let me tell you that this is a game that I had no idea about, other than it's a tower defense type of game, and it really took me by surprise because it has some very cool ideas. It has very simple rules, but a lot of replayability, actually huge replayability, a fantasy, dark fantasy theme, and a cooperative gameplay which is nothing like I have ever played before, and it all delivers on some very simple principles of communication and limited communication, but handling and managing your resources, your armies, your abilities, your boosts, and the threats that are coming into the city is vital. So before we start, this is an attack, this is a siege, fire siege. So the army of Skrell is coming into the city, trying to take over the city of the heroes and assassinate our leader. We are heroes of this defending city and trying to defend and protect our leader. We have special abilities, and we have in our command the various troops of the Valkun soldiers. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to play during our turn. Our turn is extremely simple. You have 3 tiles in front of you with different action icons. But you only see one face of the tile. You can see either the front or the back. Typically each tile has either the bright side, which is always favoring the heroes, so positive things, benefits, bonuses, and the dark side, shadow side, which has mainly negative things for the heroes. But you're going to play both the white and the black, both the bright and the shadow side. The fact is though that you have 3 tiles in front of you. They can either be from facing bright or shadow, and you see some icons. The rest of the players, because these tiles are standing in front of you, see the back of your tiles, so they know the opposite from what you know. So you discuss with the people, you cannot tell them exactly what icons they see or etc., but they can guide you on it's better to play something else, or I would play something instead of you, etc., but you cannot give direct information about the icons. Now this is really important because decisions matter a lot, and after you have discussed a lot with your players, then you decide which simple out of the 3 tiles you play, and then you execute the tile. If it is a bright tile, it's just bonuses, you want to take them all, there's no way of leaving something behind, like boosting your tracks, getting more troops, getting action icons which can either use to attack enemies, to spawn enemies, or to move enemies, etc. And you do that in a degree of how you have improved your tracks. So if you have improved your movement track, you can move all the way with one action 9 movement points and split them between different units. If you haven't moved a lot on the track, you can only move a few times. You can either boost your attacks, you can either spawn more and more if you boost your summoning track troops, etc. But once you play this side of your tile, okay, then you will play also the back side. So the full tile is going to be played, both the front side and the back side. But you will only know what you see, and your teammates will only know what they see from their side. So this combination of the tiles, the timing of which tile you play when, and then you'll replenish to 3, is vital, and you're all trying to do all these combined efforts in order to delay and kill as many as possible from the invaders. The game comes with a very interesting spiral way into the citadel. You want to avoid having an enemy entering the citadel, because then you lose a game. Any of your heroes losing their health, because then you lose a game. Or depleting all of the enemy reinforcements, because that means simply that you have been outnumbered. So if you don't have any more tokens to get into. On top of that, you have the Mercenaries, which is a constant sweet struggle, because if you let it unchecked, then when they resolve from the Horde Track, and you know when this is going to happen more or less, then they will benefit you if you have allied with them, or the enemy if it has been left unchecked. And it can give a lot of benefits, but you cannot do all of the things together. And on top of that, you have the warlords, which have very huge abilities, and they're like massive monsters smashing through the walls and going towards the citadel, and special abilities, and you want to stop them. You have also special abilities. You have your and powered a walk inside from the other side of your character card, your hero card, which has also a passive trait and an active trait which you spent energy to activate it. And you share this common, let's say, board with resources with the players. You share information, partial information, and you have partial communication with your teammates in efforts to trying to stop the inevitable, which is the invasion and the attack on the citadel. Now, this game really shines on replayability. The goal, how you win, I didn't mention how you win, this is the most important one. You win if you have fulfilled some goals and flipped 6 of the banners around the city walls. And you do that by destroying enemy nests, which is a card that always plays, plus 2 more cards from a huge variety of different cards, which have protecting citizens, becoming, buffed up awaken, or killing a warlord, a huge boss, etc. And has different cards that allow you to flip these 6 banners. And the moment you manage to flip all 6 banners, then you win the game. But besides one of the 3 cards, which are always 3 cards in the game, which is the standard one, then kill the nests, that give you 1, 2, or 3 flipping points based on the strength of the nest you destroy. The remaining 2 are selected from a pool of many different goal cards, and they bring their own. They can bring their own components. That you have also additional miniatures there. The leaders of the army, or you can have tokens for I don't know, orbs, magical orbs, or nests, or war machines that you're trying to withdraw and then fire back towards the enemy. And this dynamically changes a lot the game, adding a lot on top of what I have already explained to you in terms of dynamic, in terms of what you're trying to achieve to flip those 6 banners and win the game. Super excited. This must be the longest intro I've done for a preview video, exactly because of that. So I'm going to add a link in the description of the video for the GameFound campaign page so that you can follow. I'm going to add timestamps so that you can see specific sections of the chapter, like attack examples, how attack works, how the actions work, etc. So you can follow specific sections of the video if you want. And I'm going to join you at the end of this video, after I described in detail all the rules, for a final wrap-up about my opinion from the sessions and the games I have so far from Firesiege. It is a dark day on the island of Elimor, a day of death. Medda, the capital of Kingdom of Norad, trembles under the blows of Zagal and his Skrill army. The front line has fallen and the battle is played out in the walls of the citadel now, under the watchful gaze of the Azure Fortress and the secrets contained within it. And it is those secrets that Zagal wants, the fires of Medda, the sight of Norad, an army of Valkun that could bend the fortunes of war that has been fought for so many years across the sea. But Zagal underestimated one thing. No Valkan falls without a fight. Medda's greatest heroes are ready to risk their lives to protect the one place in all of Mork that they call home. Rishiner, Hartling, Gesta, Karanth, and Trana will lead your army and defend the citadel to the death. But Zagal is not an easy enemy to repel. Devious and manipulative, he has scattered traps and challenges throughout the citadel, and it will be your job to evade or destroy them. To survive, you'll have to shoot down enemies, but also conquer objectives that are fundamental to successful counteroffensive. The Azure Fortress is in your hands. Protect Norad and save Medda from destruction. Firesiege A Feralis story is a cooperative game. Each player controls a Valkan hero with unique abilities and skills, and turn after turn you play action cards to resist the siege of the army of Skrill that are crawling into the city of Medda to kill your leader, Norad. The enemy's army is near to infinite, thus in order to win your troops must outmaneuver the Skrill by fulfilling different goals, for example sealing the 3 nests of the Skrill, rescuing inhabitants of the citadel of Medda, or recruiting enough Marall mercenaries to overcome the enemy, and so on, till they have managed to flip all 6 banner tokens across the citadel to the successful side in order to win the game. Each game will represent players with different challenge depending on the goal cards which are selected, and they're always going to be 3. And there's a huge variety of additional cards which dictate a lot of dynamics and give different pace and direction. Be aware though, each action in battle triggers a reaction. For example, when playing a card, you get to know only one side of it, while the other players know the other side but not the one you know. Communication is key to success, but of course in battle you are not entirely free to speak out your plans, are you? Both sides of the card you play must eventually be resolved, and one is always good, the light one, while the other one, the shadow one, is bad, affects players negatively. If your hero dies in battle, any hero among the ones played from players, or an enemy sneaks into the city center, or the Horde Track reaches the maximum, the one on the top left side of the board, then the game is immediately lost. Choose wisely which and when effects should be played, as all actions have consequences and any card could be the last one. So let's familiarize ourselves with the components of the game. Again, what you see in front of you is a prototype. It looks very nice, but still it's a prototype. The game is going to seek funding on GameFound soon, so check out the link in the description of the video for more information and get notified when the game campaign launches. So let's see the components of this prototype. First of all, we have the power board, which is this one. It's a two-sided board. From one side you can see 4+, and from the other side you have different player counts. This is a power board. Okay, it has various tracks, and you start by placing these cubes as indicators on the colored steps for each of the tracks. We'll see what these tracks do later on, but for the moment just lay it aside. There are also different trackers that you use, as well as one more tracker which tracks this track here for the mercenaries. We'll see later on. I have already set up the game, but I'm going to guide you through the components. As you can see on the player boards, now I'm not going to flip it because I have already placed the starting health for each of the heroes. I have one hero here, one here, one here, and one here. But this is how the board of a hero looks like. It has this side with a lock here, and it has the awaken side, which is the one from the back where the special ability activates and potentially have better stats. We're going to go through the details, but for the moment keep in mind that you have 5 hero cards represented by different art and different color, different abilities, different stats, and different awaken side as well from the back, and give a bit of asymmetry in the game with the special abilities. We also have 10 Valkun soldiers. These are these soldiers here. At least again this is a prototype, but this is how the Valkun soldiers look like. And to begin the game, we have the game board that you see in front of you. We're going to go through the breakdown of the game board. For the moment, keep in mind that it has a space for the 3 goals. It has various components, and it depicts the citadel in the middle and the different corridors that there need to be walk through from the enemies sworn, so that they reach the citadel and kill our leader. Again, the game is cooperative. We have 15 Skrill hunters, which are these hunters here, just to show you how they look like. And they look nasty even for the wooden component. And in addition, we have 7 Skrill queens. These are the queens. Again, nasty. We have 2 battle die, custom dice that you see here, and we're going to explain how they look. Again, these are prototype ones. We have 26 life tokens. These are the life tokens that indicate the life on the hero, and once you get damage, this is flipped from this side. Once you heal, this is also flipped back again. And I have already set up each hero with, as you can see, 5 for Shiner, or 4 for guests, etc., for the starting health. We have various cards. We have 10 goal cards. These are the goal cards, and you're only going to use 3 in each game, always using the destroy the nest one, +2 randomly, and there is a huge variety of cards. And here I have to already say up front that this really dictates a lot how the game plays, because your objectives are different and gives a lot of variability and replayability in the game. So not only they feel different, but they play different as well in terms of what you're trying to achieve to win. In any case, you need to flip all these 6 tokens around the board to win, but you do it with a different number of ways depending on the goals that you have here. You also have 6 warlord cards that they enter through the Horde Track here once a warlord card is revealed. This is the back of the warlord cards, just to show you Again, the variety, and they have also standees. These are really, really nice. I've done an extensive prototype unboxing, so you can have a better look for all of the warlords, but for the moment, just to mention that we have 6 and we place them as a face down deck. We have various tokens that they are linked with the different goals. For the moment, these 3 goals do not have any additional tokens, but if you're using other goals, you have citizen tokens, you have the orbs, you have the war machines, you have the spider web, etc., which are linked with specific goals. We have the 6 banner tokens that I told you. They're dual-sided. These are uncompleted goals. Once they're completed, they're flipped to the side and they go at the edges. We have 9 Marall cards. This is a deck of the Marall cards. You shuffle them and you place them as a face-up deck. These are mercenaries. You're trying to influence them throughout the game, both you and the game itself, the Skrill army, on this tug of war here, which is a really nice mechanic. When they're triggered, depending on which side they're supporting, they will, of course, favor the one or the other. There are the nest tokens. There are 3. There is the red one, which is the strongest one, which is red. Once it's destroyed, it's flipped to the destroyed side, okay, and it starts here. So we have nests at the edges of the castles, because they have breached in and they have manifested nests, and now they're swarming from this direction on the red path, from this direction and the yellow nest on this path, the yellow path, and from this direction and the green nest towards the citadel. Okay, the construction of the fortifications is very unique, and it's done in a specific way to delay the invaders so that they cannot go and break through. At least normally, these walls are really reinforced, so that once they break in, they have to go in this spiral way, and this is really nice in terms of mechanic, as you'll see later on. But you can bypass this with some breaches, as we'll see later on. Then we have the breach tokens. Okay, we start with some on the board as well already, plus the Horde deck. And the Horde deck is this one over here. I have already flipped one face up. This dictates, once they are revealed, and there is a variety of icons, don't be turned away from the iconography. The iconography may seem a bit complex or overwhelming. It's really not, and everything makes sense, and there is a very good iconography guide at the end of the rulebook to explain everything, and it also makes sense after you have a couple of sessions. At least for me, it made really sense. Then we have, last but not least, the boards. The boards, again, to show you. Let me show you Heartling. It has a space for your hero card, which goes on this board with this slot for the tiles or cards. I think they're going to be tiles. They're referred as cards in the rulebook, but I think they're going to be tiles. And here you have slots where you insert these tokens either from this side, the bright side, or the shadow side, depending on how you pick them up from your bag. More on that later. And you always have 3 here, okay? So I'm just placing it here for purposes of demonstration, but keep in mind that the game advises that people are not seated next to each other, so you cannot see what the people see. One of the big mechanics of the game is, once you play, regardless of the side, once you play an action tile for the actions, it has a good side and the bad side for the players, and good side for the players. You only see this side, and the other players are seeing this side. So it has communication, not limits, but partial communication that is known to you, and there is a lot of discussion back and forth, and this is, for me, it's one of the great things in the game, together with the rest of the mechanics. It really makes it shine. More on that later. So, we also have bags, and in these bags we have these command tiles. Total we have 80 in the game, okay? But it's a pre-defined set for each of the players with the command tiles, and they're not also, I think, the same. They have some overlapping tiles, but they are different depending on the hero, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I remember from at least the plays that we had so far. So Overall, these are the components of the game. We also have the miniatures. Again, these are prototype miniatures. They're not, they're in no way final, but they look really nice. This fantasy theme world is great. I haven't played another game on this universe, but I'm really going to seek it out. It looks really nice. And there are also a couple of more miniatures, but these are also included only if the specific goals are used in the game and for the opponent, the general opponent of the Skrill army. If not, they're not used at all. So every player has their own bags with their command tiles, their action tiles, and the rest is what you see in front of you. So these are all the components. So let's proceed with the game setup. First, we place both the game board and the power-up board on the center of the table and one player board in front of each player. It is recommended again for players to sit around the board so that each player finds themselves in front of a different side. So this side, etc. Again, this is the power board on the side, and this is the main board in front of you. Each player is going to get one of their player boards, and we're going to populate it with the rest of the components later. Each player chooses a hero from the ones available. The game comes with 4 available heroes, as you can see. For more details, you can check the unboxing of the prototype. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5 heroes of the game are these. They have different color, different background, and different abilities and stats as well. We take the related hero figure and put the hero card on the player board, like that. On top of this board, you place your card, as I've shown you before. Then you take the indicate number of life tokens and place them all but one with a hard side face up. So, for example, Mercenary here has 5 life tokens. I place all but one with a hard side up. That means that this hero has suffered one of the 5 potential damages that he can take. And the same goes for the rest of all the heroes. Okay, switching one of their starting health tokens to the injured side. You cannot go above 5 or above 4 for Gesta, for example, over here, okay, or above 5 for Reshiner here, but you can take damage if you take your full damage. So if you take 5 damages with Reshiner, for example, the game ends for everybody. If one hero falls, the game ends for everybody. But there are ways for you to heal them in between. You drop in the bag the 16 command tiles of your hero. So each hero has their own bag, and you drop in these command tiles that they're for your hero. You can see that they're for your hero because you have a specific color. You see, this is the red, or for the Karant who's yellow, it has yellow here, etc. So you take all your 16 tiles and place them in the bag. Make sure to shuffle them, to mix their facing, etc. roughly. Because once you pull them, you cannot switch the facing. So if I pull it out like that, I need to place it with this side face up. If I pull it out like that with the shadow face, I need to place it in front of me with the shadow face, okay? And I'm going to play it both sides of the tile, but it's just that one is known to me and the other one is known to my teammates. After checking the bag, we draw 3 command tiles, paying attention not to flip them or not to overlook to the other side. We plug the tiles on the player board, and whenever we draw tiles, we cannot choose orientation. So we cannot see what's from the back and we cannot choose. So let me show you how this looks. Okay, so I draw 3 tiles, and no matter how I take them, I cannot decide to go first with this one. I can only see one side, and I insert it in the slot here, okay? And of course, I'm not going to be sitting next to my teammates, just here for fitting everything in the screen purposes. I squeezed everything here, okay? But you have your player board with your hero card, as you can see, with your health tokens. One starts injured, and you pull out of the bag 3 action tiles without switching their orientation, and then you place them as they are in front of you. You only know this side, your opponents see the other side. Next, place 3 Valkun soldiers, 3 hunter figures, as shown in the setup in the rulebook. So you see, you start with 1 Valkun soldier on each of those spaces, and you also start with one hunter, these are the hunters, in each of those spaces. So the setup is predetermined, unless you're playing with a special goal card, which dictates additional setup. Okay, but more of that later, meaning using more tokens, more objective components, etc. We also place 3 bridge tokens. These are these tokens, and they go on the specific locations 1, 2, and 3 for setup, as indicated from the rulebook. And we keep the remaining figures and bridge tokens in a common supply close to the board. Then we shuffle the 9 Marall Mercenary cards. These are these cards that I showed you before. This is the back of the Marall cards, and this is the icon of the Marall card. It can be referenced, for example, on the different events, for example, not on the Horde cards, maybe from the opposite side of the Horde cards, exactly when you resolve them, because you have to resolve then a Marall card. But this is the icon of the Marall card. They are mercenaries, and they switch sides each and every time, so this is an important aspect of the game. So here below there is a track, and here is the location where we shuffle them, and we place face up the Marall cards on the slot on the bottom left side of the corner of the game board. We shuffle then the 18 Horde cards. These are these cards over here. This is the back of the Horde card, and you can see that it is referenced on the Horde Track. For example, as this marker moves, it can reach either a Warlord spot, a blank spot, or a Horde spot. Once you reach a Horde spot, you need to resolve one Horde card. So this is a Horde card deck. Okay, we place it close to the Horde card, the Horde Track, and then we shuffle those 18 cards and place them face down next to the Horde Track. Also, we shuffle the 6 Warlord cards. These are these cards, and they also appear on the Horde Track in different locations. We shuffle the Warlord, the 6 Warlord deck card, and we place it face down next to the board for easy use. Next, we place the 6 markers on the starting spaces. First of all, the Horde marker on the Horde Track, depending on the number of players. So here, if I'm playing a 4-player game, I'm going to start with the Horde marker here. But if I was playing a solo game, I was going to start here, okay? Or for 2 or 3 players here, etc. Let's put it back on the 4th spot, because this demonstrates a 4-player game. Next, we place the Marall marker on the 0 space of the Mercenary track. This is a Mercenary track. It can go to the red side or to the yellow side, okay? This favors the players, this favors the Skrell army, the enemies. And we start with it on the spot with the number 0. Last but not least, we start with the 4 power-up tokens on their own power-up tracks on the colored square. So for example, the green will go on the green square as a starting point, the blue here. The same goes for the purple and the white. Keep in mind that you need to use the power board from the correct side depending on the number of players you have. Next, place the 6 banner tokens with the black side face up on the towers to indicate incomplete objectives. It's not linked with a specific objective. For winning the game, we need to flip all 6 of those, and there is a variety of getting goals fulfilled out of the goal cards. So let's move to the goal cards. This is the back of the goals card. We select always the save, the destroy the nest card, which is this one. This always plays and goes always in the game. And then randomly 2 more from the deck, and we place them in the 3 slots on the side of the board. These are the goals, and these 3 cards together provide ways for flipping those 6 objective tokens. Once all 6 are flipped, then we win the game, hopefully. Last but not least, place the nest on the indicated side from the active nest side, not the destroyed. So the red one goes on the red, it has a value of 8. The yellow one goes on the yellow spot with a value of 6, and the green one goes on the green spot with a value of 4. Easy to remember because it has a broad color board in the same color, so red next to red, but also this is the beginning of the red path, and this is the beginning of the yellow path, and this is the beginning of the green path. You select the difficulty level for your game, and then you follow the instructions based on the level that you have selected. It's recommended to start from the standard level, but the game comes with 4 levels of difficulty. First, the easy one, where you set the Marall marker on the 0 space here, and then you skip to the next step on the setup. If you're playing the standard mode, you set the Marall marker on the 1 dark space, which is this one, towards the side of the enemy, meaning mercenaries, the morale being influenced at the moment already from the enemy. You can play it with a hard level where Marall marker starts on the leftmost 2 dark space, so this one here, and you place 1 queen in each of the 3 nest spaces. So you need to start with queens on your nest spaces, next to your nest. Yeah. Actually, in the nest. Yeah. So then the next one is the heroic one. I only played the standard so far. The heroic one, where you set the Marall marker on the leftmost 3 space on the Marall track. Then you place 1 queen in each of the 3 nest spaces and finally play a warlord card. So warlord already activates from the deck. Next, we reveal and resolve 1 horde card. This will make sense once we explain the icons on the whole card later on. As part of this setup, we reveal and resolve 1 horde card, and we keep the horde end battle die handy nearby, and then each player chooses 1 space on the board that is second from the central space and puts their hero there. So for the green player, let's say they select 1, 2, second from the center, and 2 heroes can have the same location if needed, based on what the players decide as a starting point. So this is how you do the setup, and you're ready to start the game. Gameplay. The game is played in turns. The oldest player goes first, and then players keep playing in turns in a clockwise fashion. For solo mode, there are just a couple of minor adjustments, very easy to implement, but we'll see more on that later. The golden rule is communicating is crucial for winning, and players must try to make a decision based only on the information they see. And this refers mainly to the side of the tiles, the action tiles they're facing. You can freely discuss with the other players on what you should do, which command tile would work well in a given situation, and which instead is better to avoid for later. You can also mention how good or bad a tile seems to you in respect to another one that could be played instead. However, it's not allowed to explicitly say which effects are included or indicated on one's own tiles. So, on your turn, once you have listened and discussed with the other players for opinions, you take a final decision and play 1 of your 3 command tiles plugged into your player board. So let's say the red player starts, they're going to choose 1 of these, they're going to play it either this tile, that tile, or that tile. And remember, they're only facing 1 direction of the tile when they decide. So they make the decision based on the discussion and what they see for themselves. You play the tile in front of you for the side you know face up. So you decide, I'm going to play this tile, execute these actions, and then you're going to execute the effects. More on that later, what these effects mean and what do they do. Okay? Then I will flip the tile and execute the effects for the other side. The other players knew those effects already, but until this step is reached, they are not entitled to talk explicitly for the effects depicted from the side that they were viewing. Lastly, we discard the tile and draw a new tile from our bag to replace this one on the player board. I drew it from this direction, so I cannot change the direction, the orientation. So I'm placing it again here, and now I have 3 tiles. So I start my turn with 3 tiles, and I end my turn with 3 tiles. But I will have played 1 of them for both sides. First for the side that I see, and then for the back side. Again, one side, always the white, the bright, is beneficial for the players, and the shadow one, the black, is a negative towards the players. Anytime during your turn, but not during the resolution of an icon of a command card, you may perform optional actions. Optional actions. Along with the main action of playing a command tile, the player may perform one of the following. So anytime during your turn, you can awake your inner power using magic. You lower the energy marker by 5 spaces Okay, this is the last tracker on the power board. And then you flip your card on the awoken status, the hero status. We'll see more on that later. Another option for free actions is to use your hero special skill. There's a variety of skills for the heroes. By lowering the energy marker by the amount of spaces indicated on your hero card, some hero special skills may take place under specific conditions or specific moments on the player's turn, and then you use the hero's special skill as it's intended for its use. Just a brief example. So once this is awoken by paying 4 on the magical track, or specifically for this hero by defeating 1 or more Skrill enemies in the space with a nest. This is different from the top one is different from each hero, but they all have the 5 magical points as a requirement. Once you do that, you have your hero awoken, and once it's awoken, you have abilities, a passive trait which is below, and special skill. Now, anytime as a free action, you can spend 3 magical points from the common magical board, the last white track, okay, moving the track marker 3 spaces below, and then execute the magical special trait of your hero. So here he can spend 3 for eliminating from your space either a Skrill Queen or 2 Skrill Hunters. Okay, very effective. Also, the hero has a special passive trait. So as a free action, you can use the passive trait. This hero has +2 strength when attacking a nest during your turn. So he or she is an ideal choice, I should say, for attacking nests, because they get a +2 bonus. So this is part of the passive trait bonus. Also, as an optional action, you can claim the fulfillment of 1 or more goal cards. If the card doesn't explicitly say you can fulfill it multiple times, you discard the card. Okay, so I fulfill 1 condition on the goal cards. The card doesn't say that you can do it more than once. Okay, because some cards, for example, like this one, you can do it more than 1 card, more than 1 times, and each time you do it, you gain 1 banner. But most of the cards can only be fulfilled once. Once you do it, you fulfill it, you discard the card, and it's a free action. Some goal cards may modify some actions, introducing new components, as we have seen, new miniatures, new tokens, new objectives, etc. And this is part of the replayability and the beauty of the game. Anytime during the game, also during another player's turn, you can awake your inner power. If your hero's awakening trigger has been triggered, you can flip your card on your awoken status. End of the game. Winning condition. As soon as all 6 banner tokens have been flipped face up, players win the game. So this is exactly what they're trying to do, flip all 6 banner tokens, and once they do that, for all 6 of them, following the instructions on the goal cards, then they win the game. Defeat conditions. As soon as 1 or more of the conditions for defeat are met, the players lose instantly the game. Norad is assassinated. If 1 or more enemies enters the central space on the board, the citadel, by following their spiral path, and they enter from here, let's say from this yellow spot in here, and you can follow the arrows to see exactly the details, the arrows at the end step. Okay, so from this step they go here, or from the green one they come here, or from the red one come here in the central space. Then it's considered that Norad, the leader, is assassinated and we all lose the game. If our army surrenders, if you are supposed to add a hunter or a queen Skrill to the board, but there are none in the supply because all enemies have swarmed into the city, then we win the game. If a hero perishes in battle, if a hero flips their last life token to their damaged side, no matter if it's only one of the heroes, then we all lose the game. And last but not least, if the Horde marker reaches the last space of the Horde Track, which is on the top left side of the board, the time has run out, then we also lose the game. Command tiles. Light and shadow effects. These tiles always show 1 light side, positive effects, and 1 shadow side, negative effects. You can see that all these tiles here belong to the purple hero because they have the purple banner, or I should say marking on the top. When playing a tile, first resolve the effects on the side facing you, then flip the tile and resolve the effects on the other side. Shadow effects are mandatory and must be executed from top to bottom in the order they are listed. Light effects, like these ones in front of you, are not mandatory. You may decide not to perform them, and if there are multiple different icons on the light side, you decide in which order you want to perform them. Every hero has a different set of command tiles and their sides may be paired differently, but each tile always features among one among the 8 light sides and one among the 8 shadow sides. There is an appendix with all the details, but just to show you, for example, here's the light side. So let's see how these are explained, and the actions are going to make more sense once we explain them. But for this tile here, raise 1 space any one power-up marker, then advance 1 space the morale marker, which is this one, and then, or not then, actually you can do it in any turn, but also I should say, you perform one Valkun action. This stands for a Valkun action which can do a various number of things. More on that later. Okay, this one, raise by 2 spaces any one of the power-up markers and perform one breach action. Shows a breach icon here. This one, perform a Valkun action and heal 2 of your heroes, or another one in any adjacent or same space as yours. You can choose different heroes for the 2 healings, and alternatively to each heal you can raise by 1 the energy marker here, if you don't do the healing, and you also have one Valkun action, as we said. This one, advance 2 spaces on the morale marker towards the bright side and heal one of your heroes, one hero, your hero essentially, the one that only the one that you can you're handling you can heal, or another one if it is an adjacent or same space as yours. You can heal your hero or heroes in your space or in any adjacent space, and alternative to the heal you can raise by 1 the energy marker, because it shows it here. This icon, perform 2 Valkun actions, 1 and 1, 2, same like here, this is a Valkun action, and here is also perform a breach action. You can decide to do only the breach action or only the Valkun actions if you want. Here you can perform 3 Valkun actions. Here you can raise any one of the power-up markers by 3 spaces. This is a general icon. This doesn't stand, there is no purple track on the power-up board. There is a green, blue, purple, sorry, orange. There's no orange one. There is a green, blue, purple, and white. So when you see this icon, the orange one, you can raise any track or the same, or you can split it. Sorry, no, you cannot split it. You can say raise any one of your power markers by 3 space. And then the last one here, this is advanced 2 spaces the Marall tracker, 1 and 1, 2, same like above. And you also get 1 Valkun action. Of course, when you're advancing the Marall tracker, you're advancing it to the bright side, this one here, because this favors the players. If it shows this icon, we decrease it towards the dark side, because this is against the players. More on that on the shadow side. Shadow side. Just to give you some example, I flip them and I rearrange them because they don't show necessarily both of them the same effect from the side, from the opposite side. So I again pair them, so you can see now that you have this one, which is perform 1 Valkun action. Okay, this is a plus for the players, but then advance the Horde marker 2 spaces. This icon stands for advancing the Horde marker, which means you go on the top side of the board and you advance towards the end of the game and the doom. This side, this tile, roll the Horde die. This is this die here. Yeah, the custom one that you've seen before. And your hero is dealt damage equal to the number of indicated, either 0 or 1. So, for example, if it has 1, it's damage of 1. If it has 0, you don't get any damage. Then you move the Marall marker towards the dark side, meaning towards this side, a number of spaces equal to the number of icons you've seen here. So in this one, if this is the result, I take 1 damage and I move the Marall token 2 sides towards the dark side. And or advance the Horde marker by 1 for each of these icons. So if I just roll this one, horrible result, I need to advance the Horde marker by 3. This tile here, raise any power-up marker by 2 spaces. Okay, this is a plus for us, but the negative here is that then you choose either your hero is dealt 1 damage, or you advance the Horde marker by 2 spaces, which hurts a lot. This one, advance 2 spaces the Marall marker towards the dark side. This one, lower first of all by 1 space the troops marker, specifically the troops marker, which is the blue tracker on the power-up board. one space down, and then reveal one Horde card from the Horde deck, which is this one, and resolve it for its icons. More on that later. Here you lower one space the strength marker, which is the purple one, and then you reveal one Horde card. And here you lower one space the tactics marker on the Powerup board, and then you reveal one Horde card. Now let's move to the appendix for some additional information. From now on we're going to discuss some rules that specify more things on how overall systems in the game work, the meaning of every symbol you may encounter, and the different aspects of the gameplay. But so far, this is a game. This is how you play. You just select one tile, play it first from the side you're facing, then from the side you don't see, execute the actions, and then replace it with one more tile. And then, hopefully, your actions will have an impact. So, first of all, the Medda Walls and Citadel, which are these in front of you. The walls of the great city of Medda, capital of the Valkun kingdoms, were built with a specific plan and defense in mind. As you can see, the external perimeter is made out of impenetrable solid rock, very thick rock that cannot be breached, except from the nest cases, of course, because they have created a nest over the wall here. Only Valkun magic can destroy them. And there are also internal walls separating the avenues. 3 that are the entrances to the city. Okay, so these are actually not the walls, these are let's say the entrances, the doors. That's why they're weak spots. Okay, so the walls are still, actually these are the entrance points, but anyway. The army is swarming from the walls. So, the important thing is that these cannot be damaged. That's why they're very, very solid, and they have a good defense. The architecture was meant so that to slow down the enemies in case they would break into the city doors, regardless of the side they came in, and give enough time for the Valkun to concentrate all their defenses armies on that specific avenue to construct the siege. So, you see, they go in and then they start moving towards the spiral, towards the citadel. If they go from this side, they're still going to move in a spiral way, going towards the citadel. If they go from this side, the green side, they're still going to move spirally towards the citadel. The board is divided in total by 15 spaces, 5 for each avenue. Avenue stands for a color, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the red, 5 for the yellow, and 5 for the green. And one central space, this one, which is called the citadel. Here it would be cool to have a 3D mini, right? Just saying. Each space may contain any number of figures, Skrill and warlords from the opponents, Valkun soldiers and heroes from the players. So there is no unit limitation. You can have any number of units from either side on each spot. Unless a bridge token connects 2 spaces of different color, like in this case, okay, then you don't consider them adjacent. So this with that is not adjacent, but if you have a bridge wall connecting them, and you can remove bridge walls if you want, okay, bridge points, these are played from the players. If there is a bridge tile, then these 2 locations are considered adjacent, okay. Otherwise, only what's next to the same color is considered adjacent. Red next to red, green next to green, etc. This is broken by the siege tokens. The citadel is considered to be a space of any color in the center, and therefore Valkun soldiers can move from it to any other of the 3 adjacent spaces and vice versa. So I can go from the yellow here and then get out into the red. Very, very cool to redeploy forces, okay? So I don't have to travel a lot. Now, this is how the citadel and the walls work. Next we have the Powerup Tracks, these tracks here on the Powerup board, and the Valkun Actions. By advancing on these tracks, moving up, okay, you start from the colored spots, you increase and boost your skills of your army in many ways. So let's see the different tracks. From left to right you have this one, the green one, which affects moving further or leading more Valkun soldiers and tactic maneuvers. This one, the blue, which affects summoning more Valkun troops. This one, the purple, which increases strength in fight with weapons. and this the white, which uses energy to perform hero special skills. The upgrades. When we play a card, remember these tiles that they have upgrades. Playing cards with this icon allows you to raise the marker of one power-up track of your choice by that many spaces, 3 spaces in this case. Whenever you should raise a power-up marker and it's already on top, then you have to decide to choose another one. So I can play this one to either choose the green one, the blue one, the purple one, or the white one, and increase it by 1, 2, 3, because these are the steps that the upgrade is indicating. On the contrary, icons that dictate for you to lower some tracks indicate exactly which track needs to be decreased. In this case, the blue track needs to be decreased by 1, so from 1 it will go to 0. Whenever you should lower a marker which is already on the bottom space of its track, players must decide to lower another one of their choice instead of that if possible. And as an optional action during your turn, you can pay the requested energy amount of your hero card to activate their special skill and lower the energy marker accordingly by spending. So for example, I was here and I can spend let's say 2 or whatever is required depending on the cost of the special ability of my hero to perform it. Valkun Action. A common icon that we see on the action tiles is this icon here. This is the Valkun Action. Playing cards with this icon allows you to perform Valkun Actions, and for each Valkun icon you can perform one of 3 options. Either move Valkun on your hero, either summon Valkun troops, or attack the enemy. So you have 3 options for each of those. So I can do, let's say, 2 movements, or 1 movement and 1 attack, or 2 summons. It's up to me. For each of those icons I have 3 options. So let's see those 3 options one by one. Again, for each Valkun icon I can do any of the 3. First one is to move Valkun or your hero. Move one Valkun soldier or your hero 1 space from the space where they are currently located to a directly adjacent one across a bridge. So for example, I can do that. This one goes here, 1. Or this one goes here. Or if they were already there, they can go across a bridge here. Okay? So these are some of the options. The movement rules are simple. A Valkun or hero can move multiple times if they in the same turn. So I can spend another icon to move again. You can move different Valkun soldiers and your hero instead of moving the same multiple times. Up to you. And at the beginning of the game, for each icon, such icon that we use for movement, you can move up to 3 times. Okay, so this, if it's used for a movement, it's not giving you 1 space. It can move adjacently by the number of spaces for each movement according to the movement track. Let me show you what I mean. At the beginning of the game, the green track starts here, populating the 3 spot. Okay, so that means if I use this icon for movement purposes, I can move my hero or a Valkun soldier for 3 spaces. If this falls below and goes to value 2, then the same effect will move it for 2 spaces. Or if I boost it and increase it, I can go all the way to 8 or even 9 for each of those icons spent. Okay, so my movement becomes better if I raise the green track higher. So again, to show it in detail, let's say I spend this icon for movement. I have 3 movement points. Then I can move 1 across the bridge, 2 here, and then let's say this one goes here for 3. And this is because, or let's say here, from here he goes here for 3. Okay, so you can see it on screen. So 3 movements, 1, 2 for the soldier, and 1 for the hero. 3, not movements, 3 spots allowed by this movement because the green marker is located on number 3. If this was number 9, then that means I had 9 movement points. Another option I have when I spend the Valkun action is to summon Valkun troops. You take from the supply a number of Valkun soldiers and deploy them on the citadel on the board. At the beginning of the game, the blue track sits here, under 1. Later on this can increase, so it can be for example 2. Depending on where this tracker sits, for each of those icons you spend for summoning Valkun soldiers, that number of units you deploy. So it will be either 2, 3 or 4 all the way to the top, or even 1. So it could be less or more effective, the summoning. So let's say for the benefit of example, the blue track is on the number 1. That means with my summoning I bring 1 soldier. So I would bring one of these units and place it here on the citadel to start from. Later on, when you move, you can take it to different locations. And I remind you, from the citadel you can either go to the green, to the red, or to the yellow. They all consider adjacent. If there are not enough Valkun soldiers in the common supply, any leftover summoning is simply wasted. The third option that you can use a Valkun icon/action for is for attacking the enemy. For each of these icons you use, you follow the specific steps for attack. You choose a space containing Valkun soldiers and or your hero and 1 or more enemies. As a rule of thumb, there are 4 kinds of enemies that you have to face. These can be either Skrill hunters. These have a value of strength of 1, and when defeated they return into the supply. They can be Skrill queens. These have a value strength of 3. When defeated they also return to the supply. They have an infinite supply of enemies. It can be a warlord that you defeat, for example this one, assuming that this has already entered gameplay from the Horde Track. And once you defeat one such warlord, they have a strength from 1 to 7 indicated on the upper corner of the warlord cards, and we'll see more on that later. Okay, so this one has a strength of 4. Okay, and the last thing that you can defeat is a nest, a Skrill nest. This is the hardest one to defeat because it has a value of 8. The yellow one has 6 and the green one has 4. So actually the rulebook says 7. I don't know if they have adjusted the number 8, but anyway, it's either 3, 5, 7 or 8, 6, 4. I don't know if there's a variant or something. In any case, this is the number I have been playing with my prototype, number 8, because this is on my physical components, but we'll have to see the updated rulebook. A nest can be attacked as any other enemy, but if there are Skrill or warlords in a nest space, they protect the nest. In this case, the nest can be dealt damage only as a last target, meaning that all other enemies in that space have been eliminated within the same attack action, and there are still enough strength points left over to destroy the nest. Okay, so you can imagine how difficult is that if you have the nest of 8 or 7, whatever. When defeated, you simply flip it to show that it has been defeated, and then they're out of the game when you have destroyed the nest. So when attacking, the first thing is to choose a space. Okay, let's say I choose this space, a simple attack, or I can choose a space where I have more invested interest with more, I don't know, enemies, etc. But I need to have a Valkun soldier or my hero there. Second step is that I roll the battle die. The battle die is this one, the white one. Okay, and it has different results, so let me guide you through them. It will make sense easy, but they're pretty much self-explanatory. This adds 1 strength to your attack. This adds 2 strength to your attack. Okay, the shield makes you skip the backlash phase, which is something you have casualties at the end for every battle. Okay, if you roll that, you don't have any. This one is bad for the players because immediately you assign the backlash damage instead of resolving it at the end of the attack, and that means you may not have enough strength to do what you wanted initially. And there is also this one, where you place a hunter from the supply in the space where the attack is taking place, and this they may give birth to a Skrill queen, because when you have 3 hunters they give birth to a queen. We'll see that later. And this happens as a second step. Okay, so let's say, for example, whatever, I rolled this one. Then the third step that you do is you add the strength. You add the strength for all your units you have. Let's make it more interesting. Let's say I have 1 strength for the for each soldier. So let's say I have 1 + 1, 2, okay, in this theoretical battle in this space. And let's say I also have my hero, one of my heroes. Let's say I have this one. The strength of your hero is indicated on its card. So Karanth, the yellow mini, has a strength of 1. So 1 + 1 + 1, 3. Okay, another hero can have a different, or an awoken hero may have a higher strength, for example. Okay, so that's another reason to flip them as soon as possible. Once you've done that, you see your total strength for which you are attacking. Okay. Also, if you have supporting heroes in the location, you get +1 strength for each supporting hero. So in this case, his strength is 1. I have 1 strength for each soldier, so 1 + 1 + 1, 3, and each other hero is adding +1, no matter their strength. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But it could be that I'm attacking, let's say, with her, who has a strength of 3, to make it more interesting. So this is my active hero, so 3, 4, 5, okay, +1 + 1 again. In this case, I would be 7. Sorry, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, 7. 5 + 2. So this is how you calculate the total strength of your attack, adding the Valkun soldiers and your hero plus any supporting heroes in the space. You can boost your attack. Okay, so far we have no enemy, but imagine you have strong enemies here or multiple enemies which you want to eradicate. So the next thing you do is you boost your attack as a 4th step. For this aspect, the purple track is important. Check the purple marker on the weapons track. If the purple marker is already at -1 here, that means you need to subtract 1 from your total strength. Otherwise, depending on its position, by lowering the purple power-up token, you may now choose to boost your attack by +1, +2, or even +3 strength, regardless of the dice result. The weapons value is always added to the total strength. Okay, so you see here you have +3 if you are all the way to the top, or +2. By lowering it, you get this added boosted strength to your total attack. And at important times in the game, this really matters. Now, with the total strength of your attack, you can now eliminate 1 or more enemies that have the same strength in total or lower. So we move to this example, which we're going to resolve as a demonstration later on. But let's say, for the benefit of concluding the steps, the 7th and last step of the attack is when you fight. At the end, there is a backlash effect at the end of the attack. You choose to either return to the supply 1 Valkun soldier involved in the fight, or deal 1 damage to your hero. And you skip this backlash again if you manage to roll this icon at the 2nd step. Okay? So let's see this example. It's your turn and you decide to perform an attack in this region against 1 Skrill Hunter with a strength 1, 1 Skrill Queen with a strength of 3, 1 Nest with a strength of 3, so this should be 3, not 4, okay? And the Warlord Tulum with a strength of 6, this Warlord here. The rest of the Warlords are just decorations, okay? So only what's in the city on the inner walls adds to the attack. So first you roll the die, and let's say for the benefit of this example, you selected the space and you rolled this one. That means that you add +2 to your strength. You now check any bonuses from weapon, power-up tracks and tokens that hasn't reached the milestone yet. So you can't lower the marker on the track to gain temporary strength. Okay, so let's say you don't have any boost from the purple. Your total strength therefore is 2 for the strength die, +0 from the weapons track, the purple track, because it doesn't give you any boost, it's lower, +2 for the Valkun soldiers, 1 and 1, 2, so 4 up to this point, +1 for any other hero, +2 for your hero, because this is your strength, +1 from your hero's passive trait, okay? Because the passive trait of your hero in this example, and I should mention in this step that your active hero is the red one, Reshiner. His passive trait is that when he attacks warlords and or queens, he has +1 on strength. So this is a passive trait. So the total is 2 +0 +2 +1 +2 +1 for a total of 8. Now, you can use your total strength to eliminate either the warlord and one hunter for a total value of 6 plus 1, 7, or the hunter and the queen for a total value of 1 plus 3, 4. Any exceeding point of strength is wasted. And keep in mind something very important. In this example, there is no way to attack the nest directly because there are still enemies. So you first need to take care of the enemies, and once there are no enemies, the nest has to be the last target left in the region dealing damages. To receive damages so that it can be eliminated. Breaches. You can smash walls to form breaches that will speed up movement of your army. And you do that by using the breach icon, more on that later, on the action tiles. However, once a breach has been opened, the enemies can use it also to crawl faster towards the center of Medda. Therefore, sometimes you may want to seal the open breaches or keep them open just to spread the enemies and avoid an extreme concentration of Skrill on the same space. Breaches make two spaces of different avenues become directly adjacent and connected, as we've seen before, allowing movement from one space to the other, or for both Valkun soldiers and heroes and enemies too. Okay, but enemies, however, keep in mind that they will move across a breach only if it makes a move closer to the center, not in any other situation. So playing a command tile with this breach icon that I showed you before, okay, this one, allows you to either open, so place a breach, or close, remove a breach with a hero in its current space. So you need to have a hero here, okay, so in this case I had 2 heroes and I'm the active player, let's say I'm the yellow. When I play this icon, I take 2 Valkun Actions, of course, in any order, or this one first, doesn't matter, I can do that first, okay, and then I can either place, if there was none, a breach, or remove one. Keep in mind that you can also alternatively simply move through any existing breach adjacent to your hero, or command other Valkun soldiers heroes, even if are on another space on the board, to move through a breach adjacent to the space. Any number of Valkun can move through with this action, as long as they are in the same space. So simply, for opening a breach, you just place a breach token from the supply on the wall on the board that you're around your hero's current space, so that the token overlaps with the pre-printed walls, okay? And the 2 spaces now are considered adjacent. You may also decide to either move your hero and or other Valkun soldiers or heroes in the same space through the breach as a second step, or hold the current position. You can also decide to close a breach if it's already there, choosing a breach in your hero's current space and returning to the supply. Immediately before that, you may decide to either move your hero and or Valkun soldiers or heroes in the same space through the breach, or hold their current positions and then close the breach. And moving through a breach, if you do not intend to open or close a breach, you can still command your hero and or Valkun soldiers and heroes, others located in the same area, to move through a breach to the adjacent space on the other side of the breach. But note that in this case you may even choose to move through a breach 1 or more Valkun soldiers and that they are not in the same area as your hero by doing so. Okay, so these are the options, and this can prove to be very strategically important, of course, when you are overwhelmed, when you have to move fast, or when you have to hold the fort and close entrances, etc. So hero status, life tokens and special skills. Just a quick anatomy of the hero cards. You can see that you have here, behind the chains, let's say, the list of upgrades and hero that hero can unlock by becoming awoken. Okay, you also have them listed on the back side once they are. You have the life points here that the hero starts with, and they cannot go, never go above this. Okay, you also have the strength value. You change, you may change this in the awoken status. The same goes for the life value. This depends on the back side of the hero, and it's different from a hero to hero, so not everything for everybody. And here you have the achievement and cost to become awoken. For example, here you have to defeat a warlord for Reshiner to become awoken and flip its card, or pay 5 energy points from the energy track. Okay, so there are always 2 options, and the bottom one is common for everybody. Now, once you have, let's say I paid 5 life magical points, then I will flip my card to the awoken side. And here you see I have improved stats, so I have still 5 life points, but I have 2 strength. And now I have 2 extra things that I have unlocked. For 1 magical point, I can activate this ability and do the battle cry, move anyone, Skrill, Hunter or Queen by 1 space off your choice. And then the Enrage, which is a passive trait, I always have this one for this specific hero, okay? You have different ones for different heroes. Your hero has +1 strength when attacks queens and or warlords during their turn. This is the ability we've seen during the attack example before, okay? So, once you awake, you flip the card and you place all your life points healed. Okay, and if you needed to take 1 more because now you had, let's say, +1, then you take it from the supply. The important thing to note is that when you take damage, you have to flip 1 of those life points. If you need to flip the last life point or more than that by taking damage, then your hero dies and everybody loses the game. All heroes' life tokens on the skull side are flipped to the hard side if during the awakening, if you had damage, you are regenerated, as I said before. Okay, so this is always done. It's a good thing to try to time the awakening also when you have taken a lot of damage, to revive you also. The total strength and the armor points might increase with the new stats. A passive trait bonus becomes active, and from now on your hero can use a special ability by paying with magic. Heroes flip to the awakened status cannot go back to the normal status, so you cannot flip back to your original status. And alternatively to achieving the awakening trigger as an optional action of your turn, you can lower the 5 spaces energy marker I have said, the magic energy marker, to immediately awaken your hero. Heroes are different and have different abilities, and you can find more on that in the rulebook. I'm not going to explain all the abilities at this stage, but just to say something important about the Marall Mercenary track and the Mercenary cards. So let's focus on the Marall track. Mercenaries are a double-edged sword, as you know, and hiring them at the right time in order to turn the situation to your favor may be important, but if you wait too long, they may betray you and eventually it can backfire. Playing command tiles with this side, let me show you an example. This one and this one, this icon allows you to immediately advance the Marall marker to the track forwards to the bright side. So by playing this, I can do a Valkun action and I can advance these 2, 1 for each of those icons. On the other side, if you ever have a shadow tile that indicates this icon, then you have to move the track, the token to the dark side, to the left, for each of those icons. So 2 if I had 2, 1 if I have 1. Whenever a Horde card shows you the Marall icon, so let's find the Horde card. Okay, so let's see, these are the Horde cards. Let's say I reveal this one. I will do first this one, which I'm going to explain, then this one and then that one. This is the icon of the Marall. So whenever a Horde card shows you the Marall icon here, what you need to do is you need to follow through the Marall, let's say, resolution. The same is the case, you need to execute the Marall card if you're already on the dark side at the end and you need to move beyond it, and as you can see, you have to resolve the Marall card. Okay, or the same would be if you are to the right side and you need to move to the right beyond it, again you resolve it, you resolve the Marall card. Okay, so what happens with the Marall card? If it is on the 0 space, the Marall has not chosen a faction to join, you leave the card on top and nothing happens. If it is on a red space, here, 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 okay, let's say it's here, then the Marall betrays Medda. You resolve the dark effect of the left corner of the card either 1, 2 or 3 times depending on the current position of the Marall marker. So here it says 2, so I need to resolve this negative effect 2 times. And the one on the left is negative always. If it is on the bright side, I will resolve the bright side effect, which is positive, on the bottom right side of the card, that number of times as the number on the Marall track. So in this case 3 times, so I will do this action 3 times, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Whenever a mercenary card is resolved, you return the Marall card to the 0, so this resets, and you discard the card. Okay, so a next one is revealed for preparing for the next time. If the deck is depleted, then simply you shuffle the discard pile to form again a new deck from which you will be drawing again. I'm not going to go into the effects of the positive and negative effects, just to show you that there is a big variety. Everything is described in the index, in the appendix, in the rulebook for full detail with text, and there are also iconography in the back of the rulebook. But just simply to explain this one in detail. So if it was resolved for the negative part, for each time it needs to be resolved, what would happen is I would need to lower by 1 space the tactics marker. Okay, so on the power board on the left, the tactics marker, which is the green one, needs to be lowered. So if it was here, I would need to lower it 3 times. Okay, ouch. If it's here, only 1 time. The positive one on the right, if it is resolved, this affects if you ally with them, and then you raise the tactics marker by 2 spaces. So for each time it needs to be resolved, okay, I would raise it by 2. So if it was here from previously, when it needs to resolve, then I would raise it 2 plus 2, 4 up the green track. And so on. Various effects and various things that affect how the game continues and can be crucial. The Horde Track. It represents a horde's march towards Medda, and whenever this icon appears on the die that we've seen before, this one, that means that the marker needs to move forward. In this case it will move 2, so 1 plus 1, 2. Each time the marker stops or overcomes a space showing a horde card, you reveal 1 horde card and you resolve it. The horde card icon is this one. Each time the marker stops or overcomes a space showing a warlord, immediately you reveal 1 warlord and you spawn it. And then the warlord is on the board. And the warlord icon is this one, the red. If more than 1 space is showing icons, then you resolve it by the sequence that you reach them. So let's say I need to move 3 spaces. I would first reveal a warlord, then move here, and then I resolve a horde card. Okay, so this goes in the same turn. Okay, again, so when this icon is revealed, we need to resolve a horde card from the horde deck. So we open it and we reveal it. Okay, so this could show different things. Let me show you some icons. Again, they're all described in the rulebook. This means that new hunters, the plus, this is like that, sorry. This icon and this icon, this stands for hunters. This means that new hunters enter the battlefield. You place 1 hunter for the supply to the same space where the nest of the indicated color. So if I draw this card, I need to place 1 hunter in the green nest, okay, or on the yellow one, depending on the color. And you remember that if there are not enough hunter figures in the general supply, that means that the enemies have simply outnumbered you and you simply lose the game. Okay? Right. So, the next thing that can happen is you can have a Marall icon. Let's open some of the... Okay, here you spawn in both nests. Okay, so here you spawn 2 hunters on the red, and then you resolve a Marall card. Then simply you check the Marall marker, and eventually you resolve the mercenary card on top, like we've seen before. Okay? And the last thing that it can happen, for example, is that you can have this card here with this icon. Then the walls of Medda are crumbling. First of all heroes are dealt 1 damage. This is what this stands for. Then check the Marall marker and eventually resolve the Mercenary card on top. That's why you have the Marall icon. And the last one, it's this one. This means that you reshuffle all the Horde cards in the discard pile, including this one, and put them under the current Horde cards pile to replenish the Horde deck. Okay. Last but not least could be this icon here. So here we spawn 1 hunter on the green nest, and here this icon means that Zegal's army advances. First of all, you check whether there are warlords on the avenue, in this case the yellow avenue, of the indicated color. If so, starting from the warlords closer to the citadel, to the center of the board, you activate the warlord and you move it. And then you're proceeding backwards towards the others. You activate all warlords located in the same avenue if you have more than one by one. And if there is a tie, meaning 2 warlords are on the same spot, so which one you activate first, simply check their strength value and activate them in ascending order. Then the second thing you do, again for this icon, okay, the advance, starting from the space of the avenue closest to the citadel and proceeding backwards, make all the Skrill hunters and queens of that avenue move by 2 spaces towards the citadel. Okay, both the queens and the Skrill hunters move 2 towards the citadel. Remember, if one of the Skrill or warlords manages to enter the citadel, your leader Norad is assassinated, and again the game is lost from all players. So really bad. Last but not least, let's see this card here. Again here, if there is a twister behind the icon, the effects of the icon is the same, but it must be carried over only if the nest is still intact. If instead that nest has been destroyed, then you simply ignore this icon. So if I have destroyed the red and the yellow nest, I don't move on this avenue, I don't activate them and move them, okay? I only do that for the one that hasn't been destroyed yet. Enemies movement. Nests simply never move. Warlords movement is detailed on the card, and we'll see more on that later, but warlords move according to their card. Skrill hunters, these minis, and Skrill queens, these minis, they both move towards the citadel. All Skrill in the same space move together, but first hunters are moved and then queens. This is relevant for Valkun heroes blocking the enemy's movements, okay? Because when you have heroes, Valkun and heroes on a spot, they block partially the movement and they can delay them, okay? So this is part of an important thing that you need to consider. So, if this was to move 2 spaces, then if there was no blocking issues, they would move 1 + 1, 2. Again, I start first from the center when I activate the whole army, the horde, and then see if I have any warlords, and then move outwards, and they activate first the hunters. Sorry, first the queens, and then the hunters. Okay. Sorry, the other way around. First the hunters, and then the queens. Now, some more special cases about movement, etc. First of all, the breaches. If there is a breach in the space from where 1 or more enemies are about to move, they must move across that breach, provided that this brings them closer to the citadel. As a rule of thumb, if the breach is a wall between the region where the enemies are currently located and the citadel, enemies will move through it, otherwise they will proceed down the same avenue. Okay, so if they find a faster route, they will go towards that. Then, Valkun and heroes are blocking the enemy movements. The Skrill army is made out of 2 main types of Skrill. Okay, so we have hunters here, and we have queens here. Both are trying to reach the central space of Medda in order to kill our leader Norad. In an attempt to resist the siege, Valkun soldiers and heroes may prevent the movements of some enemies in the same space by essentially and thematically attacking them and delaying them, and this is called to block. Each Valkun soldier can block, can block 1 hunter from its space to another. So each Valkun soldier blocks one hunter. Okay, they cannot block queens. Each hero can block either one queen or two hunters. So again, in this case, let me have this example. This hero can block either two hunters or one queen. Okay? And if you have Valkun soldiers, they can only block one hunter. Warlord movement is never prevented. Warlord always moves. Whenever a queen moves from one space to another and there are heroes and or Valkun soldier figures in that area, you must first resolve one of them who is dealt one damage. This holds true also if the Skrill queen is blocked by a hero and therefore not move. The queen will still deal one damage. Okay, so you do block the queen in this case with your hero. Okay, focusing only on this section. The queen is not going to move, but it still inflicts one damage on the hero. Okay, and the same happens if, for example, the queen was here and this was going to move, and it moves 1 and 1, 2. Forget about the rest. Let's say we have only those two here. Then the queen will still block, deal one damage when it moves from one space to another, and there are heroes sold in its area. Okay, good. Each Valkun soldier and hero cannot block multiple enemies. When outnumbered, you must choose which enemies you prefer to let go and which you don't. Okay, so this is always a struggle because you want to delay the enemy from advancing. You will take damage, of course, if you have a queen advancing, but sometimes you're outnumbered and you can block everything. The last thing I should mention is that Skrill hunters, these guys, the little guys over here, give birth to a queen anytime during the game as soon as at least three hunters are in the same space and no one is supposed to move further. You return those three hunters to the supply and you place one queen in its place. Okay, in that space, in their place. Then you choose either one hero or one Valkun soldier in that space where the queen was born, if any, and that one is dealt one damage. Stunned enemies and some effects in the game can stun enemies like hunters, queens, and warlords. Whenever an enemy is stunned, you lay it down, simply, like that, to show that it has been stunned. And the next time that the enemy should perform something, for example moving, or being activated in case it's a warlord, it does not, instead of activating or doing what's supposed to do, you just stand it up. Okay, so stunning delays the enemy. The rulebook is very, very thorough and comes with a ton of examples for movement to really demonstrate everything, so there is no misunderstanding of anything. But just to mention here a bit about the warlord cards, that they are here. Again, you don't want warlords on your playing field, but they will enter through the Horde cards, through the Horde Track when you reach a warlord icon. Okay, and the anatomy of those is that you have first of all this one, which is the strength value, and the health. You also have this, which is the movement value. So this one moves 1 through breaches. This one moves 2. For example, this one, they have a different way of moving, and it's all described in detail in the rulebook on the cards. So not always simple, okay? So not just moving 1 or 2. Sometimes could be that, sometimes could be variable number, sometimes could be through special conditions, etc. But they do move and they do go towards the citadel. You also have the spawn nest. This means that this will spawn on the green nest, this will spawn on the yellow nest, etc. And this will spawn on the red nest. And then you have the effects at the bottom. The effects vary, and they have they have the common symbols that we see, okay, and everything is explained in the rulebook. So let's say, for example, we have this one, which is already on the board, the yearbook. So their effect would be that first of all it moves 2 spaces, towards the citadel. And the special effect is that it can be dealt damage only if there are no other Skrill in its space. So you don't want to have other Skrill, because then you cannot attack it, okay? Which is, this was only valid for the nests so far, okay? For the other warlords, you can attack them directly and ignore the hunters or the queens or whatever. And there are different examples that they give a lot of difficulty in the game, which makes it extremely, extremely interesting. Now, everything again is described. The last thing I want to mention is the most common card is this one, the Destroy the Nest. And this always plays, okay? And when you destroy the nest, you flip one banner. If you destroy the green one, if you destroy the yellow one, you flip 2 banners. If you destroy the red one, which is the most difficult one, you flip 3 banners. So potentially, if you destroy all 3 nests, you win the game, because in total 1 + 2 + 3 makes 6, okay? But you can do a combination, because this card is always on, so you can destroy, let's say, the yellow nest for 2 banners, and then perform other goals for a total of 4. So 2 + 4 is 6, and then you win the game, theoretically, okay? And all of these goal cards are explained in the game. I just want to highlight that they are really, really different and unique, adding, I don't know, war machines that you're trying to drag towards back into the citadel and then fire. Orbs or different citizens that you're trying to save, etc. So these create a lot of dynamic using their respective components, and they alter the game a lot, so every game is going to be fully and completely different from the other. And the last thing I want to mention is that the game can also be played as a solo, using the same rules, but just a couple of differences. Once per turn, before playing a command tile, you can first pick any one of your 3 command tiles and flip it to the other side, so that you can now see and don't see the former one anymore. And Norad is assassinated if 2 or more enemies enter the central space on the board, then you will be defeated. So it makes it a bit easier for the solo, because, okay, easier, but because you're only 1 player, but you can take 2 enemies entering here, because otherwise for the normal game, if only one enters, then you lose the game. So there you have it. These are all the rules on how to play Firesiege A Feralis story. So super excited for the game, because I had good expectations of it. I heard good things about it. And I was really happy to read the rulebook. So once I read the rulebook, I was really eager to try the game. And once I played my first sessions, I really saw it for what it is. It is a game that has something new, which is always good to have something new in board games. You don't want to have a repetition of the things that we see. So the communication, partial communication, is something new. We've seen it in other games, but not in this type of games. Something that we already like is, which is the tower defense, and the simple mechanisms and simple rules, but they really blend together and work together. And the third thing that I want to highlight about this game, which is fantastic, is the replayability. The gameplay is fantastic. I mean, I'm going to come back to the gameplay, but the replayability is off the charts. I've seen games with replayability, but they mainly focus on having more heroes or more cards or etc. But here, with a very simple idea, having just 1 common goal and 3 more goals, the goals are not just vanilla, they're not just a bit of the same, they drastically change what you're trying to achieve in order to win the game. But there are always the same ways to lose the game, and it's the massive invasion and all the, the swarm and the krill attacking you and trying to reach the citadel and destroy or kill the heroes, etc. So this is in every game the same, but the winning condition and how you flip those banners is completely different from session to session, and this drastically changes the game. And for me, this is such a fresh breath of air, because it not only it has replayability, a lot of games have replayability, it has, I don't know how to describe it, replayability plus. It's a very interesting game to play again and again, and it's different every single time. The heroes are very interesting because they have special abilities, and combining your strengths is vital. The communication, the partial communication, to make the best out of the partial communication, is vital. The game plays fantastic as a solo as well, because you don't have a place to communicate, but you have a bit more information from the tiles, so from the game mechanics, in a very simple way, very simple solo. But the game also shines on multiplayer, because there you have simply the limited information that you can share with one another, your own limited information, and combining this in the most efficient way is, you know, maybe what would really make the difference in winning or losing the game. The game mechanics are very simple. The battle is interesting. The Horde track is exceptional. The Marall track and the Mercenaries track is fantastic. Such a simple idea. A tug of war, a constant tug of war, because it gives benefit and has also tremendous impact and losses if you leave it unchecked. Then you have to keep it at bay, whether if you're playing a lot towards this track of the Mercenaries or not. The warlords are very, very massive and destructive, and you need to take care of them as soon as possible. You need to reach the nest and destroy them, but you cannot destroy a nest if you haven't destroyed the enemies around the nest first, which is thematic in my opinion. And the game, with this really robust and interesting way of playing, it emulates, in my opinion, this massive intrusion, momentum, and movement that you would expect to see or feel in an invasion in a citadel, you know, towards a citadel, and you're always trying to do whatever is best in each and every given situation, trying to defend it, to push back, to fight back, and eventually win the game. So fantastic experience. If you like fantasy games, if you like something new, if you like tower defense games, if you like Eurogame mechanics with, I would say, more modern Eurogame mechanics with miniatures and fighting and events and skills and abilities, etc., then you should definitely check this out. This is a fantastic game and I highly recommend it. This is Firesiege from a Feralis story, from Deer Games.